Hare Krishna. Continuing from the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, coming to its conclusion. As I'd mentioned last time, this is the contents of the Gita summarized. And let me read the Sanskrit as well as the purport of this very, very interesting verse. Yanisha sarvabhutanam tasyam jagarti shamyami yasyam jagarti bhutani sanisha pashyato mune. What is night for all beings is the time of awakening for the self-controlled, and the time of awakening for all beings is the night for the introspective sage. That's very nice, isn't it? I'll read it again after the purport. There are two classes of intelligent men. One is intelligent in material activities for sense gratification, and the other is introspective and awake to the cultivation of self-realization. Activities of the introspective sage or thoughtful man are night for persons materially absorbed. Materialistic persons remain asleep in such a night due to their ignorance of self-realization. The introspective sage remains alert in the night of the materialistic man. The sage feels transcendental pleasure in the gradual advancement of spiritual culture, whereas the man in materialistic activities, being asleep to self-realization, dreams of varieties of sense pleasure, feeling sometimes happy and sometimes distressed in his sleeping condition. The introspective man is always indifferent to materialistic happiness and distress. He goes on with his self-realization activities undisturbed by material reaction. And once again, the translation. What is night for all beings is the time of awakening for the self-controlled, and the time of awakening for all beings is night for the introspective sage. One of my favorite verses, and it really paints a wonderful picture. And please keep in mind that the whole basis of the Bhagavad Gita, and especially of this second chapter, is the fundamentals of self-realization, which is to be able to distinguish ourselves from this body that we have, ourselves being the soul, the source of life and divine energy, which is within this body, which spreads throughout the body, an influence that we perceive as consciousness. We're conscious beings. We're conscious of ourselves, we're conscious of others, of other things. And self-realization means to really come to a conclusive understanding of what is actually the soul, what's its relationship with the environment around us, what's its relationship with the source of that environment, the Supreme. And that's a process. It's a process that's called sadhan, or practice. How do we become free from this bodily identity of life? Now, in the purports describe that there are two different types of intelligent people. There's the materialist, and there's the aspiring transcendentalist, or the spiritualist. And the materialist is very intelligent. We're living in a world of communication, of education, of all kinds of extraordinary achievements. But generally, for a lot of the people, if I may say the majority of the people, the bedrock of their lives is material attainment. This world is their goal. And when this world and this body are finished, then as far as they're concerned, everything is finished. But a spiritualist, a transcendentalist, sees beyond this body, sees the eternality of the spirit, and therefore this world is just a means. And what's beyond this world is actually his goal, because he sees that everything in this world is temporary anyway. So he has a permanent goal, an eternal goal. We use the world, certainly, and we experience in this world, but taking just what we need and using the world as a means to attain to an end, rather than seeing that this world itself is the end. And therefore, because the value system, as I mentioned, the bedrock of identity and desire for the future is so fundamentally different. Therefore, what one person sees as being night is day for the other person, and what's day for the other person is night for this one. So a materialistic person, he's happy in the pursuit of sense pleasure, in the pursuit of this world. A spiritualist, for them, that's night. He doesn't really see, why should I continually keep running after that which is temporary and which comes to an end? She doesn't find happiness in that. Rather, what does he find happiness in? The satisfaction that comes from spiritual development, the satisfaction that comes from coming closer and closer to the goal of full self-realization. Not just knowledge of my spiritual identity, but actually realization of my spiritual identity. So really, really different. There's a real difference between the two. And for this person, he's indifferent to the happiness of the materialist. And the materialist, now what is this yoga? What is this meditation? This is just all a waste of time. Let's do something really constructive. So for him, then the pleasure that the transcendentalist achieves from his sadhana, from his mantras, from his asanas, from his study of spiritual texts, those things he considers to be a waste of time. And therefore, it's hard for the two to meet. But that's variety of this world. Nonetheless, the spiritualist is convinced. And we see that very often materialists are also convinced, although I was a materialist at one point in the past, way, way back in the past, and now here I am. So this is something that we need to really be fixed in a conviction of what is the basis of our life, what is our value system, and not really be concerned so much with what our neighbors or others are pursuing or thinking or what they value, if it's not in basic harmony with my value. Do they see my life as nighttime? And do I see their life as nighttime? That may be, but there's no change, there's no variety unless there's day and there's night. And the day gives way to night, and the night gives way to day. In this case, the spiritualist should be fixed and not give way to the influence of materialism. And the materialist, yes, well, here we are. We're open to getting another perspective on life, to actually seeing the light. When the dawn comes, then everything becomes very, very clear. They became clear for me, and probably they became clear for a lot of the followers, a lot of those who are watching now. I hope you're all taking care, staying protected, and staying inside unless you're one of those heroes, health workers who are out there and really laying their life on the line for the benefit of others. That is a real wonderful thing to do. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.